55 seconds, 18.8 Ks remain. Just 4 riders out there in the front at the minute. Blikra, Dahl, Urinos and Hofses, all 4 Norwegian riders. The leader of the race after he won stage 1 is Alexander Kristoff, the Norwegian star. Really interesting to see if climbers are really going to come to the fore today. Is it hard enough, we wonder? Is the likes of, or are the likes, pardon me, of Kristoff and the rest of the sprinters going to hang on? Certainly not every sprinter is going to hang on. It is a longish climb. Remember, gradient's up at 7.88%. I have a feeling that the climbers are really going to do the business here. We will wait to see. BMC have an interesting team. Ben Hermans there, Dylan Turns as well. Just over 18 Ks to go. We've got the sprints out of the way, and we're on our way to the town of Moon. And with 4 Ks to go, the final climb up to Målselv and Fjellonsby. Målselv and the area itself very well known for its military bases. Chris Williams and Jon Surverus Breivold about to be reeled in by the break. That means there are just 4 remaining: Blikra, Dahl, Roinos and Hofses. Astana riding on the front. We were talking about the Estonian stars, but Rein Taramaya, of course, winner in Burgos in Spain last week, and a really strong team for Astana. They had Miguel Angel Lopez up there to the final stage of the week. Winner of the Tour de l'Avenir last year, who's actually going back to defend his title, given the fact that professionals are now allowed to race that race, something that I know that a lot of people aren't in agreement with. I think both of us in the commentary box would put ourselves more or less along those lines as well, and I'm sure many of you at home. But that's a discussion for another day. Lopez lost his lead on the final day, but Astana was so strong in the team time trial that Scarponi was up there as well, as was Taramai, and of course showing how good his form is right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think I still think they've got 2 options, but definitely I think Taramai is going to be the man to watch. With them, BMC and Katusha a little bit riding on the front, definitely we're going to see them in the mix. And when we're looking back to the BMC squad, I think they've got 2 particular options. Ben Hermans can climb pretty well, but young Dylan Turns, 23 years of age, rode as a stagiaire at the back end of last year for BMC. He's a superb ride in the Tour of Britain. Several top 5 finishes on the difficult summit finishes. For me, he's definitely a little bit of a dark horse, because remember, although this is quite a stiff climb, the distance of the climb, under 4 kilometres, suits a different sort of rider. They can ride at threshold, at a high threshold, but for a shorter sort of amount of time. So it will suit riders who can. It will suit pure climbers, but it will suit the riders who are a little bit punchier as well. So it's a little bit open, but yeah, keep an eye on the two BMC guys.
Oh, we've got one of the purest pure climbers here at this race, and I'm talking about the very lightweight Louis Meintjes, who's had an excellent season. Do you think that this climb at the end of today, remember 4 kilometres, around 7.8%, is it hard enough for him, or does he need something longer to make the difference?
I think looking at Meintjes, I think he would prefer a longer climb, because just looking at his build, he can produce. He was not going to be able to produce massive amounts of power. He can produce pretty good amounts of power over a long period of time. And also looking at the way he's been racing, he's been at the back. He's been dropped a few times. That could mean 2 things. It could mean, firstly, the obvious one. He's not feeling it. He's still a little bit, he's in a recovery phase after the Tour de France, of course, which he rode very well. Or he's looked at this stage and has thought, okay, I'm just going to pull the pin at the back end when it's hard, not go too deep, and save myself, test my form. Because remember, he's part of the M10 Quebecer squad for the Vuelta, and he's 23 years of age, back-to-back tours. Perhaps he's just going to take this race a little bit lightly, but focus on one stage in particular, just see where his condition is. So, yeah, it could be a bit of a surprise package today, but might be too short for him. But hey, let's see.
7 African riders supposedly picked for the MTN Quebecer squad for the Vuelta a España, which of course you'll be able to see here on Eurosport Live every day. For all you British fans as well, Steve Cummings will be there. Stage winner at the Tour de France, trying to continue it in the Vuelta a España, and it's a fantastic Vuelta field. I'm just going to put something out there. I was alerted this morning to the fact that Alberto Contador has been out there training on the roads. My housemate Daniel Free, well-respected journalist, was in touch to say
ground, isn't he?
He certainly has.
Ground, or
he was watching the video, and he said, "Well, I've heard that Alberto Contador's out there training. Not suggesting necessarily that that is for the Vuelta a España, but given the fact that he stopped his season supposedly the other week, it's strange to see him climbing the hills outside in the Sierra de Madrid, isn't it?
It's certainly a discussion point. I'm sure the Spanish press will pick up and run with that, whatever the outcome. But I'm sure, you know, we look at the Vuelta, obviously the lead now to this breakaway. 45 seconds now back to the bunch. Does look like they're slowly going to be reeled in, but yeah, what a coup that would be for the organisers of the Vuelta. They've got the top 4 riders back from the Tour de France, and if they had Alberto Contador, the defending champion, back, it would be good. But I don't know, we'll see. I mean, I remember many years ago when I rode the Giro, we didn't know that a superstar was going to ride until the day of the presentation. That was Marco Pantani. He just turned up the day before at the Vatican, announced himself he was going to ride, and Italy kind of nearly imploded. It would be very interesting. But it's certainly, you know, it's certainly going to be interesting next week to see what pans out.
Well, they'll already been dancing in the streets of Andorra last night when Katusha published their team, because Purito Rodriguez, who lives up there, he's a Catalan rider, but of course Andorra is a Catalan-speaking principality. And big stage finish there this year. Hardest ever Vuelta stage in terms of metres of climbing, they reckon. And Purito Rodriguez, with 9 new summit finishes in the Vuelta, all brand new, is going to be up there with the best of them if he can find that form again.
He always manages to go okay for the Vuelta. He's, you know, obviously, you know, he can. He's been on the podium on several occasions. Of course, you know, what a fantastic tour he had. Okay, not up there overall, but picking off 2 very difficult stage wins. Clearly on form.
14.3 kilometres remain, 21 seconds now is the gap, and the racing really is hotting up now on stage 3 of the Arctic race of Norway. A beautifully sunny day in the Arctic Circle, sunshine out, it's been shorts and t-shirt weather for all the spectators on the side of the road. Peloton, as the afternoon draws on, getting ready to climb, and to climb seriously for the first time really. Still snow-capped these peaks around here, despite the fact that it's August. This is one of the few alpine resorts in this part of Norway. Most of the ski resorts in Norway are actually down in the southeast of the country. But of course up here, not too mountainous. You can see the wind is blowing as well right across this bridge. And look at the amount of fans as we're about to turn right into the next town, into the town of Moen, the final town before we head up to the final climb, up to Målselv town, and then we're going up to Fjellonsby, which is the hill that overlooks the town of Målselv.
Looks like it's going to be a kind of a crosswind most of the way up the climb, but again, which will affect the climb, given it's so short. I mean, it's a climb we're unfamiliar with, so we'll see the slopes for the first time when they start to head up it. But wind can affect a climb, especially if it's open to the elements a little bit. Will fall. The pendulum will swing back in the favour of the non-pure climbers should there be a headwind.
13.3 k's to go, just 18 seconds, and that's not enough for the team who are trying to keep this going. Sparabonken, both of their riders are tracking. Dahl and Runas at the front. It's left one rider behind, that's Hofsees from Team Fixit.no. So the break of 4 is down to 3. We started on the beautiful island of Senja today, mixing mountainous terrain with the seaside, typically Norwegian, and the stage finished today at the mountain resort of Målselv, the last 3.5 k's with an average gradient touching 8%. Astana still interested at the front. Britannia Séché, it's the first time we've seen them on the front of the peloton today. They approach on the left-hand side. They've still got Jonathan Hiver up there on overall general classification. BMC with riders looking maybe for Ben Hermans, who was in great form last week at the Tour de Pologne. Maybe even Dylan Teuns, as Matt suggested as well, the young Belgian. Astana, though, very much in charge there. Good to see Team Joker getting involved in things, as they have done towards the end of each and every stage. They didn't manage to get the man in the breakaway today, which will have been of disappointment to them. But the breakaway that started as 6 is now down to 3 and down to just 15 seconds. It's almost all over for these guys, isn't it? It
certainly isn't. But as we see day after day in these sorts of races, that the protagonists in the breakaway will not give up. Unfortunately, this rider here has just been caught half-sassed. He did wave the white flag, but he's ridden extremely well. Nothing he could do about that really sharp acceleration, joint acceleration from the 2 riders from Team Sparbanken. But as we see, they will just ride until they're caught, just to try and stay out the front, because, you know, as we get to the back end of the race, more and more people will be watching So it's important that they stay ahead of affairs. And of course, there's the most aggressive rider, or the most, well, will they get the teammate or the Viking jersey, which could be quite interesting. Given there's 2 from one team in the break, it could go to one of those.
The Molselv River in the distance as well. Another attack from the break. This time it's Korp Osterhus trying to keep it going with Håvard Blikra. Blikra there in the blue. 77th at 1 minute and 59 overall. He's of course no danger to the lead of Alexander Kristoff here. This was the moment that he got away.
Well, that was a pretty searing attack there, but he has been riding, he's been accelerating extremely well over the tops of all the climbs today. So at the end of the day, whatever happens, should he be caught, and it is looking like he will be caught, but he's still fighting valiantly till the very end. But he will go away with the jersey for the King of the Mountains, the salmon jersey, the King of the Mountains. So a great ride by him, and he has amassed quite a few points, so could realistically hold on to that to the end of the race too.
And he's kept the jersey in the team, which is important. Team Korp Osterhus obviously had that as some sort of an objective. Today they had August Jensen wearing it. Blikra will be the man tomorrow. Quite a few climbs on that final loop tomorrow as well, which could be very, very important for that jersey.
God, absolutely stunning, isn't it? Look at the vistas there. Absolutely superb. Just nice to reflect for a moment, isn't it? Just look at the woods and the gorge. There's an amazing quality of light, isn't there, at this part of the world? It's so, so clear.
Land of the midnight sun and all. Here is Blikra with 16 seconds, just over 10 kilometers to go. Started in Finses in Senja today. Senja the island, Finses the town. And we're going to finish up in the Alpine village that belongs to the town of Molselv, where we're just passing through. Here is Blikra, still keeping it going.
He certainly is, but he's a classy biker, as I said. He's going to be wearing that jersey. He was absolutely inspired, and you know, a couple of years back he finished 11th overall in the Tour de Fjords as well, so he can mix it well at this sort of level. 23 years of age, still a lot to come from this young rider, but making it very difficult for the World Tour teams to close him down. It's still Astana driving this bunch along.
Well, as we saw yesterday, this is another area where most of the employment is actually done by the military. Most people who live in this area have jobs in the army. It's actually the Air Force that have a huge base. In fact, the biggest base in the whole of northern Norway is just down the road from here. That's the majority of the employment in the region. The industry, there's also farming and fishing, as you always see it just about everywhere in Norway as well. Inside 10Ks to go, just 13 seconds now for Blikra. Fairly flat, relatively flat anyway, until we get to the start of the climb. It's a big lead in, so the fighting for position is going to be interesting, you imagine, because this isn't a climb as we saw last year, which was mostly straight up a road with the odd little bend. There's 3 or 4 hairpins in this particular climb, and that could make things a little more interesting. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the climb before, I mean, what you see, depending on the part, depending on the nature of the climb, the width of the road, if it's particularly narrow when they swing onto the climb, there will be the usual bun fight. There will be this jockeying for position, teams leaving it very late. The pace will gradually ramp up, and sometimes you can be riding, you can approach some climbs at the speed you go into a bunch sprint. It literally is quite frenetic. But last year, yeah, it was more of a measured approach to the climb, because there was nothing really too different about there was a nice wide climb. As you see somebody taking completely different than the riders in the peloton, especially Blikra, a rather relaxing gentleman, fishing, flag fluttering in the afternoon breeze.
I hope he's got his iPad with the race on in the background. Can't be missing it.
I wonder if he gets a signal out in the lake.
Absolutely stunning. 8.7 kilometres remain.
And more importantly, I wonder who's won the Fish Award, the 500 kilograms of salmon. That was amazingly well fought out. For the rider wearing the red number 51 today is Jean-Marc Bidot of Bretagne Sèche Environnement, and did say on social media that he did back off a little bit in the breakaway, especially to save his energy to win that prize, which is confirmed at 500 kilograms of salmon.
I know, quickly, you did your research last night. How much is that worth?
$5.28 on the open market at the moment. So that's just market price. So if it's full retail, we're looking at a lot more. So looking at $5,000 worth of salmon there, which he said he's going to divvy out amongst his friends and teammates and family.
I don't know. I'd look out on eBay. Maybe you'll see half a ton of salmon
for
sale on eBay.
The market price.
$5 grand.
Yeah.
Why not?
Wonder if you remember us, Rob. Probably not.
Goodbye indeed. Job done for the day. The last survivor, the man who will win the most aggressive rider on the day without doubt. He'll be the new king of the mountains, and I wonder if he's got some salmon going home as well. Håvard Blikra waves goodbye. The familiar figure of José Serpa at the back of the Lampre train on the left-hand side. Today, perhaps the man who he's usually worked for, he's going to get some work himself. Two more riders join in. It's the whole team, in fact. Skabo Gromay just behind him. Ilya Koshevoy as well. Mario Costa there as well. And here comes Gromay to the front. Big job for him here.
Definitely, I think they're going to be, when you look at their roster, they've got Cimola Bonifacio, this isn't going to suit them. And just the way that Serpa is floating around at the back, and he's only 24 seconds behind, I think it could be possibly a day for him. Whether he's up to the task or not remains to be seen, but definitely Lampre looking after him.
Well, normally he'd be doing his job right here, wouldn't he?
Exactly, yeah. But again, the composition of the team completely different. And again, this is a sort of race that gives an opportunity for a lot of the riders who can climb well, who are punchy, but generally ride in the service of others. But I'll be interested to see how the mustachioed Serpa rides today.
Joker at the front. They've got a really good chance of walking off with a team prize, you know. They've got several riders in at 20, 30 seconds. The only rider at more than a minute is Grundal Jonsson, the number 184. The closest rider they have to the overall is Björn Tore Nielsen, as there are conversations on the front. Marco Haller not quite happy. Yeah,
Marco Haller wagging an accusatory finger there at the young BMC rider on the front. I think that can happen, you know. Marco Haller, very experienced of the rider. Clearly, I think I don't know if it's Flakemore or not, but no, there's definitely something happened there in the bunch. As Tinkoff Saxo also start to move. The first rider of the Tinkoff Saxo was actually Jure Sagan, the brother of Peter Sagan.
If you're thinking about this from a Katusha perspective, yes, of course, they've got Zakarin, who I'm sure would love to take the overall if Alexander Kristoff can't hold on, but their primary concern has to be the Norwegian they have in the leader's jersey. They're bringing Kristoff to the front, and I think the last thing they want is for things to explode here on the climb. They want to keep this together as long as possible, under control and to the liking of the big man.
Of course, I mean, he said he's not going to just, you know, give up and just kick back. He will try, because, as I said, if the wind blows in a certain way, you know, it's possible Kristoff could stay in contention, but doubtful. But he'll certainly fight to the end, without a shadow of a doubt. But still, Team Joker setting quite a relentless tempo. Only 6 kilometres to go now.
Climb begins in 2 kilometres time. Yet more supporters of this very unique event out onto the side of the road to say hello. The biggest sports event that takes place in this part of the world. Certainly in the summer anyway. What stunning scenes.
But it's not very often you see this beautiful countryside bathed in sunshine. Generally, the weather conditions up here aren't overly favourable, as we see Cofidis now moving to the front as the road starts to drag upwards.
Cofidis, who've had Jonas Olstrand doing a great job for them the last couple of days. Ryan Bouhanni, who is of course the brother of Nasser Bouhanni, winning for fun this week over in the Tour de l'Ain. Turgis riding well. Turgis and Van Steyen both in the top 10 overall, 15 seconds. 5.5 k's to go, just over a kilometre before the climb proper begins. Tinkoff Saxo, what are they going to pull off today? They've had a bit of a nightmare, really. They've got quite a few of their main riders out of contention in terms of time.
It's difficult to pick a rider from the Tinkoff lineup who would excel on a climb like this. But again, they are riding near the front. It's again, even if you haven't got a rider to particularly protect, you don't just. They're a World Tour team, you know, riding a race like this. They need to show their colours and at least try. And there's Edvald Bosenhagen right in the centre of his screen, wearing the green jersey. He's looking after that for Alexander Kristoff, who has it by rights. Wonder how he'll go today.
First sighting of Hutarovic on his wheel as well. Cofidis on the front inside the final 5 kilometres. Here comes Marco Haller, though, trying his best to protect both Imno Zakarin and the leader at the minute, Alexander Kristoff. There he is, number 1 on his back, the blue and orange jersey for the leader of the Arctic race of Norway. Winner of stage 1, only just beaten yesterday on stage 2. That was a super win for Sam Bennett, by the way. Kristoff coming up in the 3rd position. Kristoff beaten on his home roads.
Yeah, so he got a little bit boxed in, and actually I think it was Marco Haller did comment again on social media. It is great social media for the insights of some of these riders. I won't use the word he used on air. It was an expletive, but he basically said he somethinged it up, and that's just the way it goes. And unfortunately, it meant that his team leader was a little bit boxed in, but that's taking nothing away from Sam Bennett. He delivered on the day. A superb win by the young Irishman.
So approaching this climb, remember 7.8% is the gradient. And from just under 4 kilometres out where it starts, as we see more evidence of the armed forces who are the biggest section of the workforce in this part of the world. 4Ks to go, and it's a bit like the Tour de France. We've got the caravans on the side of the road. They've been camping out and waiting for this one.
They certainly have. Now they're out in force, the caravans. Many caravans at the side. Their riders starting to jettison bottles just to lighten the load as they head up the climb. In a minute that the road will bear right and it will swing left, and then that's when we reach this series of quite narrow curves that punctuate the climb all the way to the top.
So before the fireworks kick off, the gradient here is quite the same. There's not much change at all. It's very constant.
If anything, it drops off slightly near the end, but primarily you are correct, Rob. Again, 7.8% is the average gradient, but very even all the way through.
Well, our riders dropping off already as we hit the first slopes. It is, as expected, Alexander Kristoff and Katusha who take up the running. Just in front of him, wearing the number 5, the long rangy figure of Ilnur Zakarin, who will be the focus of the team's attentions if and when Alexander Kristoff is under pressure. But here come the first attempts to try and put on the pace at the front. Cult Energy have a couple of riders to watch, Linus Gerdemann and Fabian Wegmann, both at 15 seconds.
Yeah, both very dangerous riders indeed. Gerdemann, of course, this year took out a major tour himself, won the Tour of Luxembourg, so that was a fine coup for the Cult Energy team. But look at Edvald Boasson-Hagen, he's not too far from the mix, but Cult Energy at the moment taking up the tempo, and riders being dropped left, right and centre now.
Davide Malacarne, second wheel as well for Astana too. And there's the green jersey of Edvald Boasson-Hagen, just giving himself some slipping and sliding room. Jose Serpa still in this bunch. There is Kristoff.
Look at the huge gear that Alexander Kristoff is turning. Again, you know, when you look at the climbs of Milan San Remo, these are climbs that are quite similar. Not, you know, they're sort of 5-6% gradients. It isn't beyond all reasonable doubt that Kristoff's going to get dropped, and he's certainly battling hard as he goes past his teammates. But some other accelerations now, an injection in pace at the front.
And there's Dylan Turns, who you were talking about, Matt, a little earlier on, the most advanced of the BMC riders, as it's now Malacarne who takes it up at the front. Astana really wanted to control this. Here we go. There is Serpa. Waits, hovers, is ready. The little Colombian could be the main man today to do something for Lampre Merida.
Angele Tulik is also there, the rider just spinning that low gear in the green jersey for Europe Car. So some interesting riders in the mix at the moment.
Grumai trying to bring himself further up, but Kristoff is struggling. Kristoff starts to slip and slide, and Zakarin now is the man who takes up the position. We're wondering what Kristoff was going to do, and I think we're getting our answer.
We certainly are getting their answer. He survived for quite a long time. Maybe I was perhaps giving him a little bit too much, but there he is. Look at that. It's so powerfully built. He's got all that weight to carry up the climb, churning that gear now, just about holding on.
Well, if he's not going to be able to stay in the very top group at the front, the next task for him will be to limit losses, limit time, and give himself an opportunity, with bonus seconds, remember, of being up there again tomorrow.
Well, we've only got 2.4 kilometres to go now, Rob. He could lose. I mean, again, although this is a slightly steeper climb than last year, he only lost 15 seconds last year. So it's not it's not impossible. He's just got to keep riding within himself, not push himself into the red.
Kanga on the front for Astana. Zakarin just behind him, looking good here as well for Jose Serpa. The man wearing a Lampre jersey in Alexander Kristoff's group here, the second group on the road at the minute, is Ilya Koshevoy. As we see Kristoff again, just slipping, just sliding, moving further down there. Radio's in now as well.
Yeah, the gaps are really opening up. There's Zakarin, probably I think one of the most dangerous rides. Look, Edvald Boasson-Hagen in the green jersey, riding about 6th wheel. He's looking very good at the moment, and of course his position very highly overall.
And Astana will want to get rid of him.
They certainly will. Well, Boasson-Hagen sits 3rd at 6 seconds, and remember on this stage as well, still 10, 6 and 4 when they cross the finish line. 2 kilometres to go now.
14 seconds away from the blue jersey. Those time gaps will chop. Those time gaps will change all the way. Boasson-Hagen's still there. And here comes the attack from Astana. Astana attacking with Ryan Taramai having a go.
Well, that's a real stinging attack on the left-hand side, but look at Zakarin. Look how sharp and sprightly Zakarin is. Comes straight across the gap in that rather ungainly style, but looks remarkably strong.
Zakarin then right on the wheel of Taramai. Chance now to try and move on. Ben Hermans coming across as well for BMC. Hermans on the left-hand side, dragging, I think it's Matthias Frank with him, but we'll wait to get a better look at that as Alexander Kristoff cracks with 1.8 Ks to go. He is gone.
He certainly has. It says 13 seconds there, but just looking at the way he's rocking and rolling at the moment, he's certainly going to lose a little bit more time. Edvald Bosenhagen also has been detached now, got a group of 5 riders now going clear. Zakarin, look, wants some help from Taramay, who certainly gives it. In fact, he accelerates away from the small group.
Here goes Ryan Taramay then. There is Edvald Bosenhagen, who is dropped. Edvald Bosenhagen just off the front group there as Ben Hermans struggles to make the junction as well. 3 BMC riders there as Taramay puts the pace on again. Just over 1.5 Ks to go. Matthias Frank is the man who is working himself up this climb, working himself back into the form after the very, very hard Tour de France he has. Edvald Bosenhagen looking after the points jersey. Again, he's got the leaders in sight. He's looking pretty good here. Remember, in the final kilometre, if anything, the gradient gets ever so slightly easier.
It does certainly. When you can see the finish line, you know how far, obviously, you've got to go. You know the sort of effort that you can put out. It's just about pacing yourself at the moment. Taramay just holds a few metres lead over Matthias Frank, who had a fantastic Tour de France. If anyone's got enough endurance in the tank, it could be him. But again, he's a master at pacing his effort. But Taramay actually drawing clear now.
Taramay looking fantastically well and hoping to continue that form over. Just outside a kilometre to go. Remember, winning the Vuelta a Burgos last week. And this is Edvald Bosenhagen now in that green jersey.
He also won Murcia this year as well. He's had a great season as the 28-year-old Estonian. Looking very, very good, but a sorry soul there.
He's not enjoying this, is he? 42 seconds to Alexander Kristoff. He's not going to win the Arctic race of Norway. He's got to think about making sure he tries to get up there in a sprint tomorrow. Taramay, the leader. .1 kilometres to go. We're watching Edvald Bosenhagen of MTN Quebec and Norway wearing the points jersey and being detached as a group of fantastic climbers led by Ryan Taramay fight out the stage winner. Taramay has really pulled out some distance on that chasing group. 1 kilometre to go. That gap of 1:10 is all the way back to the blue jersey. I don't think we need to worry about Alexander Kristoff anymore. Whoever takes the stage win here is very likely to move into the lead, Matt.
Well, Ryan Taramay looking very, very good at the moment. Lies 22nd overall, only 15 seconds behind Alexander Kristoff. But the danger man in 3rd place on general classification, who is a fair bit detached, Edvald Bosenhagen, 3rd at 6 seconds, but he's certainly fighting all the way. But he is detached in the group from BMC, but it looks like one of the BMC riders is trying to get across as the gradient eases ever so slightly.
Well, one more hairpin to go. As you can see, the car's just a little further up there. And then there's a left-hand turn in the final couple of 100 metres as Taramay, with 7 victories in his career now, the 28-year-old from Estonia. The latest of those coming just 1 week ago. Taramay, we wonder where his form has disappeared to in the last couple of years. He came bouncing back at the start of the season, and look at this. This is a great response by Ben Hermans. In form last week at the Tour de Polonia. He was up there, not quite good enough in the end, but Hermans riding into wonderful form. He was already very good in the spring, remember, in the Ardennes. He was the winner of that fantastic race that comes right in between the cobbled season and, of course, the hilly season. It was the Flèche Brabançonne, the Brabantse Pijl, as it's now really known. He's up there. Could he be the man to thwart Ryan Taramay in the final few 100 metres? Taramay, does he have it left?
Tell you what, there's only, 400 metres to go. It's looking very, very close. Ben Hermans out of the saddle, leaving that gear. It looks like he's going to shut the gap.
Well, Taramay realises, remember, there's no race radios here. This is the Europe Tour. Taramay is there, and here comes Hermans. Taramay might just have given this away. It's a real fight to the finish. Here comes that left-hand turn with 200 metres to go, and those riders are together. Oh, Taramay, this is going to be Hermans, surely. Taramay has nothing left in the tank, and Ben Hermans out to take the front and hit the front with 150 metres to go. go. BMC Racing with Hermans of Belgium looking to take the win. Hermans has got it easy. What a win from the BMC man. Hermans looks behind, time to celebrate. A wonderful victory for the Belgian. It's going to be Ryan Taramaya to finish in second. Hermans will take the win, and at 15 seconds with the bonus seconds, he'll also go into the race lead.
Well, what a superbly timed ride there by Ben Hermans. Measured his effort all the way, and when he caught Taramaya, one momentary hesitation, took a deep breath, hit him hard. There was nothing that the Estonian could do about it. A brave ride by the Astana rider. In the end, he had nothing compared to what Ben Hermans had to offer in the last 200 metres.
Well, Edvard Boasson-Hagen finishing inside 30 seconds. I think it was Matthias Frank who finished in third, by the way, behind Ryan Taramaya. Look, it's taken everything out of Ben Hermans. He had to make that junction then with 500 metres to go. If we'd have seen Taramaya put in another acceleration there, I think it would have been done, Matt. But as soon as he got on the back wheel, there was only ever going to be one winner. I
think Taramaya didn't really tie up. He just kept the same speed, but Ben Hermans just... He only had Taramaya in front of him. It was like a little carrot dangling, and just managed to measure his effort and build up the speed towards the back end until he was accelerating across, well, in the last 200 metres. But yeah, the way he drew him back, that was an extremely exciting finish. I think Ryan Taramaya, with maybe 500 metres to go, thought that that was in the bag, and unfortunately it wasn't to be for him.
Well, superb stuff from Ben Hermans. Here comes Alexander Kristoff. He's being ridden home by Sergei Lagutin, and Lagutin's been a fantastic worker. The only real domestic that Katusha have had this week. Everyone else has had a specific job to do. Lagutin's job has just been to look after everyone, get those bidons, get the bottles, ride on the front, be all things to all men, and he's certainly being a brilliant chaperone to Alexander Kristoff here. On his wheel is Skabu Grumai, Ethiopian champion, of course. And he's going to come in just under 2 minutes down. So Kristoff, as he suspected himself, couldn't hold on. He will not win the Arctic race. Tomorrow is another day for him. Stunning scenes at the Arctic race of Norway. And we've probably just had the race's best ever mountain top finish. Certainly fantastically fought out towards the end in that last kilometre. It was a doubt right into the last 200 metres. Ben Hermans the winner. The Belgian who can climb, the Belgian who can do just about everything.
And when you look at, obviously, the Tour of Poland was a very, very hilly race, and finishing on the podium in that race, he's clearly in fine form, but against Ryan Taramaya. But this rider, saluting the crowd, big victory, just had what it took, perhaps measured his effort a little bit more. And the man from the flatlands certainly delivering in the mountains today. Taramaya, disconsolate perhaps, and here's the moment when the catch was made.
Oh, it's disappointing for Astana. They rolled all day long. BMC did contribute at times, as did Yam Cycling, but it was the pairing of Kazakh riders on the front all day for Astana that did the job. Ben Hermans pipping Ryan Taramaya at the post. Matthias Frank indeed for Switzerland, and Yam Cycling finishing in third position.
BMC have such a wealth of riches when it comes to sort of the pugnacious style of rider who like the shorter climbs. Philippe Gilbert, Greg Van Avermaet, Ben Hermans, they really do have quite an amazing roster in this sort of terrain.
Oh, what an exciting finish to the day. Ben Hermans winning by 3 seconds ahead of Ryan Taramaya. Matthias Frank in third, Sylvain Dillier fourth, Dylan Turns in fifth in the end. 3 riders in the top 5, pardon me, for BMC Racing. Zakarin, Meinkies, Boasson-Hagen, Wyss and Odd Christian Aking. Brilliant stuff from the Joker rider, up at 28 seconds as well. I know that is a man who they are very excited about in Norway. A man to watch, the man who's finished in 10th place today. But all the glory on the day, on stage 3 from Finzet to Målselv, goes to Ben Hermans of BMC Racing and Belgium. It's a stunning day scenically, and we've had some wonderful racing as well. Not the day to remember for Alexander Kristoff.
I think, you know, it's fair to say he certainly gave it a good go. He put himself near the front of the bottom of the climb. He showed off the jersey. He rode proudly, but, you know, he's won a stage, and tomorrow could be nailed on for him as well. He's focusing on the final stage as well.
And when you look at the riders and the quality and calibre of climbers and riders who were up there in the end today, I think certainly it would have been a very, very special performance if it had been anywhere near them.
Definitely. Well, there were glimmers at the start, but I think what makes it for me is just the attitude, the way he rode. He rode with flair and panache. He put himself in the right place, but in the end he didn't have it. And when you look at the type of riders who are at the front, the sharp end, yeah, who can blame him?
Ben Hennemons, after winning stage 3, is now the new leader overall of the Arctic race of Norway. But it's not a done deal. Ryan Taramai just 7 seconds behind. Time bonuses at intermediate sprints. Time bonuses on the line on stage 4. With Bossenhagen 24 seconds back, anything still is possible. So they still ride in on stage 3. Been a long old day out there today. 4.5 hours riding in the Arctic sunshine. And there's more to come on the final day from stage